Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. We're about a month away from fall camp starting up. P and I talked about it yesterday. We're tunnel vision all the way until football season kicks off. So y'all will see a lot of football coverage on this channel. Also, we're getting towards the end of OV season. We talked about it to start this month off. It was going to be big because the transfer portal is going to fix things, the players that we bring in for the 2026 class. And moving forward, we'll probably be sticking with this team a lot more than what we've seen over the past, like several years. So that's a positive thing. At least I think that it is. But also, this is the final week of that OV season, and we have to finish strong. So I'm going to show you the big board of all the players that we've done a really good job with up to this point. And I'm also going to show you the early list of players that are expected to make it up on campus this weekend. And of course, I'm going to be showing you my key players from that list as well. And hey, listen, man, Tennessee just got our first 2027 commit, and it's a really, really big one. So we're going to be breaking that thing down. And as always, y'all, please do us a very big favor. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And I actually want to start right here with something that I saw on VolQuest earlier today. So someone made a post just basically trying to show how does our roster look this season compared to last season. Is it better, worse, or about the same? So for me, I would say the quarterback is worse. I know that people are going to scoff at that, but honestly speaking, just think about if it was a situation where Nico is still on this team and he, God forbid, got hurt in spring practice. He had a season-ending injury. We had to go out and get Joey Aguilar. We had a couple of young guys that we had to trust to go out and operate at quarterback for this team. I think that everyone would think that we're in a worse situation than we were last season. I just feel like a lot of the talk with, oh man, we're going to be just fine, which I'm not saying that we won't be, but I just think like a lot of that talk is more people are mad at Nico and not so much being honest. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I think that on paper and everything else, right now it looks like it could be worse, but it also could end up being better. Like it could be significantly better, or it could be about the same. As far as it being better, I don't know necessarily how realistic that is, but it is possible. I just had to throw that out there. Now, everywhere else, I feel like Tennessee is about the same or better at. Really, in most places, I feel like Tennessee is better at. But let's talk about running back. I think actually Tennessee's going to be better here. Some people might scoff at that too because Dylan Sampson's leaving us. He had a record-breaking season last year. But understand that Tennessee's offensive system, we spread the field out, we run versus light boxes. I think the Coach Heupel's been like either number one or number two as far as rushing goes in the SEC since he got here. And I think that he was only like number two his first year. Don't quite quote me on that, but he's been up at the top. So the running game is going to be there. And I think that last year, Dylan Sampson got so many carries because we didn't have as many vets. This year, we have three vets inside of that room, plus two very, very good freshmen. I always talk about Justin Baker. He's a dog. He's going to be really good. But then you look at Morris. He brings a different element that Coach Heupel hasn't had on this team where he can really make you miss. You can flex him out wide and run routes and just do a lot of different things. So I think that that'll help out with Tennessee's scheme. I'd call that room a plus. I say that it's better compared to 2024. Wide receivers, I think that it's better. Now, yes, we are shorthanded with the players, but I think that they're more talented. We're talking about taking some hitches, taking some slants to the house. We got guys who can do that. Mossing people, snagging on folks, running through tackles, just being dogs. I think that we've got that. It's more quality and not as much quantity. So I would say that, yes, we're better there too. Tight end, I think that we're better. A lot of young players. We got a couple of vets, but we got several other young players that I do feel like will be able to step up. They've looked good so far. And then offensive line, I think that is significantly better than it was last season. So talking about defense, I think that our tackles will be better. I told you that we don't have a big O or like a big E, the guys that are big space eaters, 330 pounds plus on this team that I know of that's probably going to really get to play. But I think that the pass rush takes a really big step forward. And I also think that they'll always do a very good job of stopping the run. So we should be fine there. And then with our ends, James Pierce, he's gone, but I think that we'll be about the same. So Joshua Josephs, he's still here. Caleb Herring, he's still here. Don Bailey, Tyree West, those guys are still here. But then you got Jordan Burns. Then you got Tyree Weathersby. Those players could step up, and there's a lot more guys behind them. So I think that we should be about the same. There's a chance that it takes a step forward. There's also a chance that it maybe takes a step back. We'll see, but it's not going to fall off too much. That's the whole point there. Linebackers, I think that they're going to be better. So AC, JT, those guys play since they were freshmen. Understanding what you're looking at versus SEC offenses, that's going to be really big for them. But I also think that they understand, hey, I needed to get stronger here, or I needed to gain some weight, or I needed to get faster. I feel like they're going to do all those things. So that's going to be very, very positive. Cornerback should be better. Everyone's pretty much back from last season. I'm talking about star players here too. Everyone's pretty much back. We added a couple of really nice pieces there. I think that we'll be fine. Yeah, some people coming off injuries, but I think that we will be fine. Safeties, I think that it's probably worse, not because the guys aren't talented. They're just very new to playing there. Andre Turntime being the only vet, it's going to be tough. It might take those guys a couple of games to get into their groove and really understand what they're doing. But safety is really, really hard just because you have to know so much and you also have to be able to get there and make the play physically. But several young players out there, there's literally no depth. So it is a big time question mark. But I would say that overall, the roster might actually be better, y'all. It really might. Now, the issue is you got your quarterback, you know what I'm saying? And then you got your quarterback on defense, who's the safety. Some people say, well, linebacker, yeah, you could say either one. But I think that more so for our defense is probably more of our safeties is really the, quarterback of the whole deal. So kind of tough. You know what I'm saying? We will see what ends up happening. But I do want to take a look at our newest commit, okay, for 2027. And his name is JP Peace. So his father played linebacker for Tennessee. He's actually Philip Fulmer's grandson. And looking at him on three, right, you can see he has really good size, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's from Knoxville. So this is really like my first time looking at his profile and all that type of stuff. But he looks good. Like you can tell that he can I'm thinking that he can probably play. So let me go on ahead and pull this up. I'm gonna try to make this big for y'all so that you can see it. But we will take a look at this pretty much, for the first time, just seeing how he plays. So there, it looks like he's playing more kind of like an edge player, kind of like a stand up middle linebacker, edge rushing hybrid. That means that he's got good size and he can move around. He could end up being maybe like a strong side end, maybe like a Leo. I don't know. We have to watch more of this just based off of that. Here, I don't know about him. I'm not sure about him playing Leo, but I would say that he could most definitely, play like a stand up middle linebacker, and he might be able to also play some strong side in. So this will be his sophomore season. He's going to gain a lot of weight. Look at that motor there. He's going to understand football, right? Like having a father that played college football, and then also if your grandfather's Philip Fulmer, of course he's going to understand what to do. That is a huge plus. I cannot overemphasize having the players that have a high football IQ on your team. So this just and what I'm looking at here now, I say that this is a great way for us to kick off 2027. And we talked about our 2026 class last season at about this time, and we said, well, maybe he could finish top five. I still feel like we have an opportunity, but this is big, man. So I'm very excited that the staff is getting things rolling well, and I think that we're going to be fine moving forward. And y'all already know that. So let's move on and let's talk about. All right, so we're going to go past that right there. Okay, so now I want to show y'all the players that I think Tennessee has done a really good job with so far with our OVs. Now, some of the players haven't come up just yet, but everyone up here, Tennessee's top two for them. If it's dark green with the white letters, Tennessee's number one. If it's light green, then Tennessee's, I think, in second place. Again, for the players that haven't come up just yet, we're not 100% sure, but I would say that we are at least in their top two. And then Tristan Givens, he's the only player that, we talked about this yesterday, that he's got his own shade of green because I think that we are in first place, but we're tied with A&M. So he's visiting them this weekend, and he's going to choose a school on Monday. We have to stay in contact with them as much as possible because I would love to add Tristan Givens to this class. So y'all can pause this or come back to it, whatever. This is just the way that I see it. But you know what? Actually, let me go back and let me point out a couple more things. What you'll notice is Tennessee's going to have a lot of players that can play tackle for us on defense. We've got several different offensive linemen. Offensive tackle will be big for us, but I think really more guards is what we're looking for. Tackle on defense and then guard on offense is something that it feels like every single year we have to go out and add several players. So hopefully, because we have more scholarships to work with now, hopefully we can add a lot of players at those spots so that moving forward, we don't necessarily have to add these guys, right? Like I'm not going to say that we're necessarily reaching, but we might take some people that are more like projects in this class at those spots. Same thing could be said about safety, right? Like there's several safeties here, and we're going to talk about some more safeties today. But hopefully we can get to a point where, moving forward, like for 2027's class, we're taking players that we feel like, hey, these are dudes, they can help us out right now. That's how you want to be operating. It's easier said than done. But speaking of safety, I can tell you this right here, right now. He's not up here, but it does sound like Tennessee might have a blue chip caliber safety that people haven't talked about for a while, might be visiting us this weekend. And we're going to be talking about that more on our Patreon. So shouts out to everyone that's on this channel that's subbed, that likes, that comments, all that good stuff. Thank y'all. Shouts out to all the members of our YouTube channel too. Thank y'all. And also big shouts out to all the people that are still on our Patreon. We are going to be bringing a lot more content. So it's tough for us to say certain things on YouTube, but on Patreon, we can give y'all a lot more, kind of like inside info. We will be having some, podcasts. We're going to have at least one every week, but, we're going to have one at some point today, probably going to drop that at about 8. So you can join our Patreon for free. It's patreon.com/ Blue Chip Breakdown. Is actually scrolling down there in that ticker, just in case y'all missed what I just said. It's going to be down there. But y'all come join us, okay, for free. And you can, message us, right? We can message you back. It's a lot easier for us to interact with you. We're going to have chats and forums and all that type of stuff. But if you want the inside info, okay, if you want the all 22 film, if you want some of the stuff that we're giving to our YouTube members, that's the $5. Okay, you have to pay the $5 for that. We also have a $1 tier, but we're not going to stop with our YouTube memberships. I would say though, if you can, it might be better to go away from the YouTube memberships to the Patreon. But again, we're going to keep it going on both sides just because I know that some people might not want to go from YouTube to Patreon and go through different sites and all that. But I had to make sure that I threw that out there just so that y'all know that that's going to be the new place where we want to operate a lot at. Okay. So, with all those things being said, let's move on forward and let's take a look at the overall list of the players that will be up this weekend. Again, this is who we are anticipating will make it. Some of the players might not. Some, we might see, like we just talked about, we might see some more names added to this list, and we'll update this as we go further, into the week. But yeah, really, really good names here. And I also want to go ahead and jump into the key players for me for this upcoming weekend. This is big just because these players are probably going to know where they're going after this weekend. The ones that are coming up this weekend, Tennessee has a really, really good shot to be able to land them if we want them. So there's a couple of things that I want to point out here. First and foremost, the player up at the top, Moa, he's listed as an athlete. He can play wide receiver or safety, but I want him to play more safety for Tennessee. So a total of 3 safeties that I feel like are key for us. I think all 3 of these guys can help us out as true freshmen. But of course, everyone wants to talk about Savion Hyder. Okay, so we're going to go to him first and foremost. And I think that at this point, it's us and it's Michigan. That's pretty much the way that it's been. I can't call it, who's in first place or who's in second place. It's one of the two. I think that with us getting him last, we have a great opportunity to be able to close things up with him. But let me talk about his game some. About 6 feet tall, okay, 200 pounds. He's a guy that I think can carry 220 plus pounds, which is a bigger running back. And with the way that we like to operate our offensive system, we spread the field out, right? We're facing some lighter boxes. A lot of times you'll see some smaller linebackers and some, obviously, like safeties who are already, kind of like small linebackers that I feel like with his size, with his speed and all that, getting downhill, he can run through those guys. But oh, by the way, he can also make you miss. He has great balance. I think that he runs tough. You know what I'm saying? He runs good routes too. He has very, very good hands. I just think that he's just do it all sort of a back. He has everything that you're looking for. We haven't had a running back that's this highly rated since Coach Heupel's been here. But getting a guy, added to this team that can do some of the things that Savion Hyder can do with what we've already done, with our running game since Heupel's been here, expected to take another step forward. And that's going to help the entire offense out in a major, major way. Like I said, you could use him as a gadget piece. So I just think that this would be gigantic, obviously. You know what I'm saying? He's not one that, oh, it's just because he's a 5-star. It's because I'm watching him play and you see that 5-star. Even last season, when he was just like a 4-star. We broke down his film. We didn't break it down, but we did talk about him. I said, man, he looks good. He's got everything that you want. So this would be huge. I think that Tennessee should be in a good spot. I wish that we had Faison. I wish that Faison could come up again. He came up last weekend for Tristan Keys and for everybody else, but he's got a camp that he's going to, I think, out in Cali, so he's not going to be able to make it. But I'm sure that the staff will probably get him on the phone and, have them talk. So that should be pretty big. Now, let's come on back. Okay, let's come on back and let's talk about the next player. I want to go to Moa, right? So let's talk about all these safety bodies that we're gonna have coming up, right? Just because that is such a big deal. So he's from Utah. Right now, it sounds like Michigan and Utah are his that's the favorites at this point. Y'all can see all the visits that all these players take. 24/7 Sports does a much better job with that. But watching him play, so here he's going to be on offense. Like I said, I think that he can do that. He has good size. 6'2", 190 pounds. So that's great size, whether you're playing wide receiver or if you're playing safety. The difference is, though, y'all, as I've said, to play in the secondary, it's a different level of like there's a kind of like a different skill set that you need. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of folks that I feel like could probably play wide receiver. I'm not taking nothing from anybody. I think that he looks good there, like you saw on that play. making people miss. But watch him here playing at safety. This is a goal line situation. This is a very tough cover. They have to, guard somebody that's dragging across the field and make the stop in the backfield from that far away. His closing speed is crazy. Of course, he has the ball skills because he does play wide receiver. Y'all can see it here on this pick, but he has a knack for the end zone offense, defense, special teams. Yes, he can play special teams too. So I just think that he's just like a total package player that Tennessee really does need to add. I haven't heard a lot about him from our insiders. It doesn't mean that we're not in a good spot for him. I would actually say Tennessee's probably third based off of all the research that I've done on him, just reading different articles and things like that. I think that Tennessee has a good chance to come out of this weekend as his number one team. Hopefully that will happen because I think that he could come in as a freshman and help us out playing at safety. We need the guys like this. He will thump you, all that. So we like for our safeties to kind of be able to roll down and play more inside of the box, play the run, be physical, but you also have to be able to roll back and play in coverage. He's showing me all those things. It's not a lot of, there's not a ton of safety clips on his film, but I can tell it's not going to take long. You can tell that he's got the skill set necessary. So he's a big one. Okay. He's a name that we have not talked about before on the channel, but he is a really, really big one. So let's come on back and let's talk about the next player. Actually, I'm going to go to Craig Tutt because I do want to stick with the safeties. Try to show you how they look side by side. So Craig Tutt, in-state safety, right? He has really good size too. I think he's a 4-star on every site or most of them anyway. So with this being obviously safety being something that Tennessee needs to close out on, he's an in-state player. It's a message, right? Like you have to send the message that we will go out and get the players that we need in-state. We lock down our own borders. I think the hype was going to do that. I know that we've been pushing for him. So he just visited Ole Miss last weekend. Sounds like he loved that visit, y'all. It felt before like there was more separation between us and Ole Miss, like we were number one by a pretty good margin. Now I think that Ole Miss has closed that gap up some. He talked a lot about it, talked a lot about them treating him like family. He said that he felt like it wasn't forced, it was real. Tennessee is the family school. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that once he comes up, hopefully he'll get that vibe, get that feel, and we'll be able to ultimately land him. But he's another one that I think could play as a true freshman in 2026 whenever he does get up on campus. But very, very, I think he's a very, very good athlete. But I would say, is he versatile where he can do some different things? Yeah, but he's more of like he's a safety. Get this thing right. Okay, so let's talk about the last safety, and that's going to be Joel Combe. And he's actually teammates with Brandon Rouse, who we're about to talk about here in just a minute. But he's another safety. I think that at this point, you can see South Carolina's up there. It was us in UGA. I'm not quite sure. And you can also see here that he's going to be choosing on the 9th of next month. But I don't know if Georgia is still talking to him just because since we saw that, Georgia's landed a couple, maybe even like a few secondary players. Either way, that's not taken away from his game. He's really good. I think that his stock is risen, listed as a 3-star, but I think that moving forward, he might end up with his 4th star. Very, very good player. He's another. I think that he's a guy who could play safety and maybe some star for you too. I don't see much cornerback, but we need these guys, right? This is a player that can come in and help us add some depth and maybe even push to be a starter. I know that sounds crazy, but push just push to be a starter because if you're pushing, then you're making the other players, the veterans, get better. We need a lot more of that moving forward because yeah, listen, y'all, like we've got 2 safeties already in this class that we just got, but I just think that they're more of like a project, probably like a couple of years on down the line. They might not even end up actually playing at safety, right? Like I think that door is still kind of open. So I would love for us to maybe add a total of like 5, maybe even 6 safeties in this class. But yeah, I think that Joel's really, really good. So let's go on to the next player here. Actually, let's go ahead and talk about Brandon Rouse. Okay, we'll go ahead and talk about him. I know y'all probably have been waiting on him. So he just came off of his visit at Texas, but you can see the other programs there. So I've got Michigan and Alabama. I felt like before it was us in Alabama. Now I think that Texas did such a good job on that visit that you got to look at them too. But he talked about Tennessee, even in the article that I read, what he's talking about Texas, talking about that visit. They were like, well, Tennessee feels like that's the team that we need to try to beat. But he even talked about Tennessee. He said, man, listen, Tennessee's been on me longer than anybody else. That goes a long way with these players, right? Like we were the ones that saw it in you before anybody else did. But either way, he can do a plethora of different things. Really good size, really good length, 6'3". He can play stand-up Mike for you, but I think that he could also maybe grow into a Leo. I watching him playing on offense too. He's just a really good athlete. But hopefully we can get him and his teammate Joel to come on up. I'm talking about fully come on up. Obviously, they're both coming up for their OV, but to get them to choose us, that would be huge because I think that TJ White, I feel pretty strongly with him. Obviously, we already have Braylon Outlaw. And I just think the coach Inge is doing such a good job with these linebackers. It feels like every class, and we're just talking about from last year, right? Last year to this year, but it feels like he does a really good job of targeting the guys that, okay, hey, these are like the Mike and the Will, but let's get this guy that's kind of a tweener that could also help out, Coach Chow with his Leos. Let's get some guys like that, right? Because if they're more on the linebacker stand up, play out in space side, and if they grow into a Leo, what's that mean? Because our Leos drop back into coverage. It's just I just think that we're doing such a good job, and I'm looking forward to it. I think that we might be able to land all three of the linebackers that I just talked about. All right, so let's go on. Let's go on. And I think that we have okay, so we've got two more players. I'm going to talk about Daryl Rivers first. So he would be a D tackle. And I think that at this point, it's us, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech. So he's one that, of course, we are looking for those tackles. Let me see if I can find him in here. Okay, so here he is. Yeah, so of course we are looking for those tackles, and he's really, really good. I like his size. So he's 6'5". He's long, but watching the way that he moves, he's a guy that I would say he could maybe play a little bit of strong side in for you. Maybe he couldn't gain too much weight. He'd have to get a little bit faster, maybe gain just a little bit of weight, get faster. He could probably play strong side in. But really, his highest ceiling is going to be, hey, listen, if he's like 270 now, 280, you gain 20 or 30 pounds. And, you could play him at the three. If he gains a little bit more than that, gets up over like 305, you could play him at like nose. But his twitch, like we talked about with all the other tackles, it is a different level. You could tell that they are definitely purposely targeting those types of tackles that can get after the passer too. So I just think that we're doing such a phenomenal job of finding these types of players. So he wouldn't be the highest rated tackle that's coming up this weekend that I know of at this point, right? But I would say that he might have the highest ceiling. Might not be like a first year sort of a guy that can help you out, but in a couple years, I think that he could grow into something really, really special. So let's go on to the last player here. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have Hezzy Harris, who I think is probably going to be playing Leo. He could play Leo or strong side in, but he is currently committed to Auburn. We talked about it. He's a flip watch guy. You know what I'm saying? Like you have got to watch and see, can Tennessee flip him? I think that we're in a really, really good spot too. Looking at him versus like a Tristan Gibbons, who I look at as my number one pass rusher in this class. There's some similarities, but there's some differences. So with Tristan Gibbons, I think that he's got some good hands, but I think he's more about his feet. I think he's a little bit more twitchy. He's a little bit more quick and sudden and things like that. But looking at Hezzy Harris, he's more of, his first step might not be crazy, but he's got really good hands. His footwork might not be super great, but I think that he can get to the quarterback and beat tackles in a different way. More of like, hey, I'm going to set you up with this power rush, and then I'm going to, work a swim move or maybe work a spin move off of that very, very long. So you need guys that can do a little bit of both, right? So I could see him, like I said, maybe playing it strong side in if he gains some more weight and being really, really good there as far as stopping the run. But also he'd be more of like a pass rushing strong side in, right? Kind of like a Tyree West. I don't think he might not ever get that big because Tyree West is close to 300 pounds. But I think that he's a very versatile player that can do a lot of different things. He looks pretty good playing out in space too. So this is a guy that obviously we will be watching very, very closely to see what happens. But I think that this is one, maybe out of all the players that we talk about, he's one that's pretty high up as far as Tennessee has a very, very strong chance of landing him coming out of this OV. But that's going to be it, y'all. I hope that y'all did like it. If you did, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we're going to be coming back later on tonight on our Patreon. Y'all can join for 100% free. Okay, it's bluechip.com. Or I'm sorry, it's patreon.com / Bluechip Breakdown. And we hope that y'all will join us. That'll help P and I to start, getting closer to going full time. But y'all please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.